Good evening, everyone. Before I get started, I would like to acknowledge our two wonderful MCs, Paul and Marion, who have done an incredible job tonight. And also, I would also like to thank Zoe for being my awesome piano partner. Please give a round of applause for our two amazing MCs and Zoe. So, hello. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sam, and I have been honored to have been chosen as valedictorian, representing the class of 2026. Now, big roles come with big responsibilities, and I would certainly consider this speech to be one of them. After all, how do you condense 8 years of memories into a single speech? Most of us have been walking these hallways since grade 1. Back when our backpacks were bigger than we were, when we went on forest walks while genuinely believing we were explorers, and when grade 8 students, they seemed like fully grown adults. A lot has happened in the years that followed. There was a stretch of school that took place through a screen from our living rooms in our pajamas. There was the dreaded EQAO, the recorder concerts, the recess soccer matches, and by grade 6, there were 4 rounds of Just Dance. Madame Valentin's class against Madame Swan's, and what the participants will tell you was a totally serious and important competition. There wasn't any prize, but the energy itself was everything. Year by year, through it all, this place became something more than just the building we came to during the weekdays. The hallways stopped just being hallways, and the people around us became something harder to describe than just classmates. Maybe that's why these memories feel so significant now, because we never noticed how quickly they were becoming memories while we were living them. I still remember some of what we did in the first week of grade 8, the spaghetti towers, the near impossible attempt to balance Pringles into a freestanding circle, and obviously the slightly surreal feeling of being the old students in the building for the very first time. But the thing that stuck with me the most wasn't the activities, it was the letters. Former students who were once exactly where we are right now had written to us, and even though every letter was different, they all kept circling back to the same message. Work hard, stay on top of your responsibilities, and most of all, to enjoy grade 8 while it lasts, because it goes by faster than you expect. At the time, it sounded a little cliche, like something our parents would say. Don't procrastinate, stay organized, enjoy the year. We had all heard it before. And anyway, graduation felt so far away that it was hard to imagine this moment ever actually arriving. But now, sitting here tonight, I finally understand what they meant. Time has a strange way of slipping through your hands without you noticing. One moment is the first day of school, the next you're here wondering where it all went. And the truth is, once time is gone, it doesn't come back. It's the only currency we spend every single day without knowing how much we have left. And unlike money, you can't earn it back. Which is why I think what made this year so special wasn't the assignments, the projects, or even the grades. It was the moments in between, the conversations before class started, the inside jokes that made no sense to anyone outside of Louise Arbour, the memories we didn't realize we were making at the time. And this year gave us plenty of those memories. Between the intermediate classes, we fielded teams in every single sport the school board had to offer. To the coaches who dedicated their time to leading those teams, thank you. Your work took this school to broad regional success. Of course, there was also the boys versus girls volleyball game, which ended in a tie, although I think it's important to clarify that the boys were obviously taking it easy. There was also Stem to Stern, where our school had to build an actual boat and then row it across Fanshawe Lake. I feel like it's one of those activities that sounds slightly questionable until you actually do it. Because trusting a group of grade 8s to build something that floats is definitely a bold decision. But somehow, after all the planning, building, adjusting, and a fair amount of wondering whether the thing was actually going to float, we ended up on the water. And honestly, there was something pretty unforgettable about seeing something we helped create actually move across the lake. Then there was the Niagara Falls trip. 3 hours on Clifton Hill with nowhere we needed to be and nothing particularly expected of us, other than proving that we could handle a little freedom, which we obviously did very responsibly, right? Well, as it turned out, that freedom was all we needed. And then there was the Scalon Tower, where we retreated to what was described in advance as a revolving fine dining experience. The view was genuinely beautiful. The food was memorable. But when we look back at all of those memories, it's not just the big ones that mattered. It was also the smaller moments, the ones we may not remember perfectly, but that somehow made the year memorable. The random conversations during class, everyone's it tag during gym, the moments Jeremy always seemed to be a part of, and all the other little things that made our classes feel like ours. And when we look at all of that, the big moments, the small moments, the serious ones, and the ridiculous ones, it becomes clear that none of them just happened on their own. Behind every team, every assignment, every event, and every opportunity, there were people putting in their time and effort to make this year what it was. And none of it happens without teachers. To the staff at Louis Arbour, thank you. You give more to this school than most people probably realize. To Madame Blay and Madame Hart, thank you for leading our school and helping make this year possible. We know that events like graduation, field trips, sports clubs, and everything that makes a school feel alive do not happen without your help. Thank you for supporting opportunities for us to take part, grow, and make memories during our final year here. But for grade 8 specifically, it came down to two people. To our two homeroom teachers, Madame Shrestha and Madame Lantos, thank you. Although you taught different classes, you both held us all to a high standard and pushed us to become more responsible students. It is clear that you are both working toward the same goal, making sure that we left this year ready for whatever comes next. Madame Shrestha, for what your students have shared, you held them to a high standard from day one and pushed them to become more responsible because of it. You pushed them on time management and on understanding what actually matters when the pressure is on. You encourage your students to try new things and step out of their comfort zones, like when you guys explored environmental leadership or found ways to integrate art into math. But beyond the high bar, you also brought patience, humor, and perspective into that room. Through your jokes, your stories, and yes, a few words of Greek that I'm sure none of your students had yet forgotten. Thank you for guiding your class through one of the most important years of their lives. Now, Madame Lantos, I have the advantage of speaking from experience here, and I'm still not sure I have the right words. You turned our classroom into something that felt like a real, safe community, from the inspirational words and videos during our morning meetings, to the way the classroom itself always felt welcoming, thoughtful, and full of meaning. You made lessons feel like something worth showing up for, because you made sure every person in that room felt like they genuinely mattered. But beyond the curriculum, you also taught us lessons that will probably stay with us for even longer. To choose our friends wisely, to become more responsible human beings, and most of all, to have integrity. You reminded us again and again that who we are when nobody is watching matters just as much as what we achieve when everybody is. You saw us as people, not just students, and you cared not only about what we learned, but also the kind of people we were becoming. And that is not something that any of us will forget anytime soon. Thank you. And to our families, thank you for being the people behind so much of this journey. For the rides, the reminders, the lunches, the encouragement, the love, and the patience it took to help us get here. We may not always say it enough, but we know we didn't do this alone. And I speak for all of us when I say we are so grateful. So give yourselves a pat on the back and a round of applause because you guys deserve it. I'm going to be honest, I don't think any of us feel ready for whatever comes next. Part of us is excited. High school means new people, new opportunities, and a fresh start where nobody has any preconceived idea of who you are. But another part of us is still that kid who first walked through these doors in grade 1, hoping to make friends and figure things out along the way. I think that part will stick around for a while, and I think that's okay. High school will bring new challenges, changes, opportunities, and yes, harder work, but that's a problem for September. What we know is what 8 years here gave us, and that feels like enough to go on. But before we look too far ahead, I think we should take one last look at where we are right now. There's a certain kind of ending you can only recognize after it's already happened. You don't know the last time is the last time when you're in it. You just think it's another Tuesday. You think there will be more of them. And then one day, you look back and realize that was it. That was the last conversation in that hallway. The last time you sat in that classroom. The last time something felt exactly like it did right then, and you had no idea. The strange thing about tonight is we still have a week left. School isn't over yet, which means the actual last times are still ahead of us. The last dodgeball game, the last lunch at Wendy's, the last Tuesday at Louis Arbour. We haven't had them yet. So, to my fellow graduates, look around for a second. The people around you have shared this chapter with you. Whether you've known them for years or barely known them for one, they were a part of this story. So sitting in your chairs tonight changes something, because now, for maybe the first time, we know that the last times are at hand. And knowing is different. When we walk back into those hallways next week, it'll feel different than any other time we've ever walked through them before. We'll notice things we stopped noticing years ago. The way a room sounds when it's full, a conversation with someone we keep needing to have. Small things that were always there, but that we're finally actually seeing. That's what this night is, maybe. Not the ending itself, but the moment we finally become aware of it. Which brings me back to those letters. At the start of grade 8, we read messages from students who had already lived through this experience. They told us to enjoy every moment, because it would go by faster than we expect. At the time, it felt like advice from people who were already far ahead of us, people who had figured out something we hadn't yet. But now, we've become the people writing those letters to the next class. We've lived the year they were describing. We know exactly what they were trying to say. And if there's one thing I would tell the students sitting where we once sat, it's this. Don't wait for a moment to become a memory before you realize how much it actually mattered. As Madame Shrestha would say, we're at the end of the race. We have to run faster to finish it. Well, we ran the race. Almost. We haven't crossed the finish line just yet, but we can see it. And if this year has taught us anything, it's that the final stretch matters too. Congratulations, class of 2026. We almost made it. And by this time next week, we really will have. Thank you.